I'll be demonstrating how to work Kitchener in the round using the garter stitch. Here's a cowl, my January 2016 knit along called Ambiguous. It is a two-sided cowl, and how it was worked is in one long piece, and then we folded the one side together so that it was reversible. We turned at this little ridge here. I did a purl ridge to make a nice turning ridge. Well, when I finished, I wanted to close the cowl by mimicking that same purl edge, and I did that with the Kitchener stitch. So you can see that they're identical and I get a completely reversible cowl. So let's see how that works. Here I have a miniature version of the piece. It has been blocked. You will want to make sure that both sides, on either side of the purl ridge, are equal width and also equal height. Here was my cast-on stitches that were on a provisional cast-on, so I removed that and placed them on a circular needle. And here is my last round, and I have, those are the live stitches, and I have taken my working yarn and I have cut it to be about 4 times the circumference of my piece. If you're working in 2 colors like I am, you're going to want to weave in the opposite color into the inside of your, or the wrong side of your cowl before we graft. So I'm saving this yarn to do my purl grafting because it matches my purl ridge. So what we're going to do is we're going to fold this second side, is going to be kind of our inside, and we'll fold it to inside the piece. So I'm just going to reach in here and holding it kind of at that turning ridge, just pull it through. Yours will pull through a little bit easier than mine because I have such a tiny little guy here. Let's see if I can fish that other needle out. There we go. So now you can see that my piece is folded in half. When I look this way, I've got the inside of the cowl there. And I have, you can also peek here, now I have really 4 needles up here up top. So we're going to be grafting, we're ignoring these 2 back needles here, and we're just going to be grafting on these using these 2 front needles. How we can tell which is which, there you go, I'm trying to untangle this for you. The front ones, the needles where we're going to begin grafting, it has my working yarn attached to it. So let's begin with a closer look. So here I am with those front 2 needles, and you can see we have wrong sides facing, and if I peek inside, there's my stockinette. The back 2 needles I just like to hold out of my way as best I can, and I'm going to be working on these front 2 needles. Before I get started, I like to put a locking stitch marker into the first stitch on the front needle and into the first stitch on the back needle. And this will aid us when we get all the way around to the end for a nicer finish. So you're going to love the Kitchener in Garter because we only have to remember one set of instructions, because we're going to do the same thing on the front needle and the back needle. So we're going to go through the first stitch on the front needle as if to knit and draw that tail through, and then we will take off that first stitch, just a little gentle tug, and then go into the second stitch as if to purl and leave it on. And we go to the back needle and we do the exact same thing. Go into the first stitch as if to knit, and then we take that stitch off and give it a little gentle tug, go into the second stitch on the back needle as if to purl, and we leave it on. I got a little tangled there in my marker, but we'll be fine. And repeat, keeping that yarn underneath. Go into the first stitch on the front needle as if to knit and take off. Second stitch as if to purl and leave on. Back needle, first stitch as if to knit. You can See, my working yarn's always underneath those needles. Take that one off and back as if to purl and leave on. Now, because we're always working in pairs, many knitters find it helpful to put markers, so say every 10 stitches or so that you know that when you hit that marker, I would put like a marker on 10 stitches on the back needle and 10 on the front, or in this case, my pattern repeat was 16 stitches, so maybe do that. Leave them on here, so you should hit the marker at the same, sequence on both needles. So one last time, and then I'll show you how we finish it. You're going to keep doing this into the front needle as if to knit and take it off. Back needle as if to purl. I'm sorry, not back needle, second stitch as if to purl and leave on the back needle, first stitch as if to knit and take off. And we're going to keep going around and around doing this. Second stitch on the back needle as if to purl and leave on. So it's knit, off, purl, on. Keep going around and around. You may want to adjust the tension on these stitches as you go, and we'll work around and around until we have one stitch left on the front and on the back needle. So here I have a tiny little piece where I've made my way all the way around with grafting in Kitchener stitch, and I've got one stitch on the front and one stitch on the back. So what I'm going to do is go into this last stitch on the front needle as if to knit and take it off. And now this marker that's been hanging here from the very first stitch that we did, I'm going to go into it as if to purl. So now the front side's done. I can take that marker out, and I have just my back needle left. I will go into that stitch as if to knit and take it off, and then go into my marked stitch as if to purl. And then I can take that marker out, and now I have grafted all around very nicely with my Kitchener. Now we have this tail here on the front. The only thing that's left to do is we have to weave that in. So you have a choice of kind of fishing it inside and maybe trying to catch some floats, or you can also weave it in on the front side with the duplicate stitch, and you can see my video on how to do that. So that's the Kitchener in the round garter stitch. Happy knitting!